Calling this meeting to order. My name is Fred Schultz. I'm the current chair of the Monroe County Economic Development Commission. And we will start with a roll call of those in attendance. If you are a commission member, please let the public know. My name is Fred Schultz, and as I said, I'm current chair of the commission.
Isak Asari, member of the commission.
Gregory Travis, member of the commission.
That is all the commission
All the
members are
necessary.
present. I will note for the record that we do have one participating electronically, so any vote has to be a roll call vote.
Okay, all right. My understanding is that we are here for a tax abatement petition by Baxter, also doing business as Simtra Biopharma Solutions. We're very excited to hear your proposal, and I will turn it over to your team, and feel free to make introductions as needed. And thank you for being here.
No, thank you for having us. And if all right, we'll go through introductions real quick.
Sure.
David, if you want to.
David Lambiaso from PowerPoint Development. I'm the acting PM. Assisting the pitching.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon now. Juliana Mendez, I'm the CapEx manager at the Bloomington site.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Bond. I'm a research scientist at Simtra. I'm also a PM for this project.
And good afternoon, Pat Adams. I'm the site head at the Bloomington site, Centra site.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Reinhardt. I'm Director of Operations. I've been with the company for about 16 years. It's nice to meet you, Matt.
Hi, my name is John Barrett. I'm the Director of the Program Management Organization, so responsible for all client business operations and flow through Bloomington. So.
Good afternoon, Mike Boyd. I'm the Director of Supply Chain.
And I'm Jen Kelly. I'm the Human Resources Director at Simtra.
All right. And we also have Jennifer Pearl and Clark Greiner here from Bloomington Economic Development Commission. Thank you for being here and thank you for your work. So, all right. I understand we have a presentation on the proposal, and feel free to run it.
Does someone have control the slides, or?
Our technical services person does, and so when you want to advance, just let them know.
Okay, I would, if we can go ahead and advance, that'd be great. So we'll go through a high level overview of who we are as Simtra, a little bit about our local and corporate leadership. We are a somewhat new, I'll explain that, organization. Of course, we'll go through kind of the proposed expansion, what we're looking to and would like to do. And then we have some information regarding our current and planned, I'll say, community engagement and ESG activities. So I'll say this is very new to many of us. So please ask questions, or if there's information not included. With the group we have here, we should be able to answer about anything you have. As you can tell, we got a pretty high level of excitement with this project. Fortunately, we limited it to this amount of people. If you don't mind advancing the slide. It's a little difficult to see, but just kind of going through who we are and what we do. So Simtra is a CDMO, or contract development manufacturing organization. So essentially, we're not making our own products. We make some of the large pharma companies that you would be familiar with, and we make. Oh, very good, thank you. Does everybody have one that needs one?
I was enjoying sharing with you.
Okay, we're good. All right. So as I was saying, we're a contract manufacturing of sterile or parenteral products, so injectable products. And as a contract manufacturer, as I was explaining, we do not make our own products. We're manufacturing products of those of some of the major pharmaceutical companies. That second bullet point you'll see tells a little bit about our story. So we have operated as Baxter for the last roughly 22 years here on the west side of town, just off Curry Pike. And as of last January, Baxter announced they were going to divest essentially what is the equivalent of our division, Biopharma Solutions, which includes our site here in Bloomington and a sister site of ours in Halle, Germany. So rewind to May of last year, a deal was reached with Advent International and Warburg Pincus, two large private equity firms that came together to acquire biopharma solutions from Baxter. So while we are still operating under the legal name of Baxter, we have, as of October 1, closed on that deal and are now in the process of standing up as our own independent organization, including the two sites of Bloomington and Hollow. So essentially a carve out from what is larger Baxter, headquartered up near Chicago and Deerfield area. So we have operated, largely independent of Baxter. We were kind of a square peg in a round hole with Baxter, being is that we were a contract manufacturer and one of very few sites that did sterile fill finish. It's a pretty unique type of manufacturing, albeit not overly unique to Bloomington, which is pretty neat. But so anyway, that kind of tells the story. So as of October 1 of last year, we have transitioned to Simtra and are in process of standing up as an independent organization between the two sites. Between the two sites, we're about 1,700 employees. About 1,000, just over that, is here in Bloomington. That number's, I'll say, fluctuated a little bit over the years, but we are definitely kind of in a growth mode as we speak. A little bit about the two sites, I'll say we do very similar manufacturing, sterile fill finish, you'll hear it referred to. The Hollow site does focus a little more on a specialty type, highly potent cytotoxic compounds, whereas we are more biologics, vaccines, monoclonal antibodies, traditional type injectables, I'll say. We don't do any live virus. We don't do anything where we're really anything that is, where you have to have engineering controls to really protect the employee versus the products. We're more protecting the products, so they're pretty benign in that from that stance. So, we operate here at our site at about 30 active clients at any given time. We are a high volume commercial throughput, so the majority of our clientele right now are products that are commercial in nature. They're not in the early phase clinical development. And they're life-saving or life-sustaining in nature. They're not cosmetic. They are, there are vaccines, there are cancer products, there are MS products, macular degeneration products, could go on and on. There's a number of those. For some or for some perspective of size, we manufactured about 128 million units last year. So different individual medicines, either of pre-filled syringes, liquid vials, or lyophilized freeze-dried vials. So those are the three platforms that we really operate in. We are in, the majority of our business here is in commercial, I mentioned. We are starting to expand into the clinical world a little bit more. So taking on earlier phase products, development products, really trying to become more of that, one-stop shop for our clientele. So that's something historically under Baxter, the kind of the investment or that growth appetite was not there. Our new sponsors, the private equity firms and the leadership they put in place, they are a growth-minded group. So they're looking to, position us more as a one-stop shop CDMO. So, we went from being a very, very small fish in a very, very large pond with Baxter to now essentially being half of our business. So a very, very different perspective. And they are wanting to expand those capabilities. So, we do everything. You have some details here: complex formulations, sterile aseptic formulations. It's complex manufacturing that we do. We have full quality control laboratories on site, from incoming raw materials through in-process testing through finished product testing. So on site, we have regulatory affairs, quality, supply chain, of course, operations, engineering, regulatory, R&D, supply chain. I'm sure I've left some out, but so a wide variety of disciplines that support our site. We have a very strong, I'm kind of moving here to the bottom right, a very strong regulatory position. In our world, in the contract manufacturing, you're really only as good as your compliance history. So for us to sell our services, we have to be in very good standing. And it's not just with the FDA, it's with, our products are distributed in over 120 countries. So any countries that our products are distributed in, we are open to being audited by those. So we are routinely audited our site throughout the year by various regulatory agencies and our clients. So essentially half of the weeks of the year, we have some sort of audit going on between our clients and different agencies. For instance, this year, right out of the gate in Q1 and into Q2, we'll have the FDA, we'll have TGA, which is the Australian agency, and we'll have EMA, which is the European, essentially version of the FDA, all here within not a desirable first couple of months, but they're here for just their general inspection. So, I skipped over a few things here, but we talked about the number of active clients. I think it has a stat here that we've transferred in over 300 successful molecules. So that's really what our clientele is trusting us with. They're taking their IP, their active ingredient, their medicine essentially, and trusting us to manufacture that. These are very high value branded type products that they enlist our services to manufacture. So there's a high degree of trust in this type of manufacturing. So it's a very long sales process, and it's generally a very long relationship once, because it's high cost to get into this type when we do a technical transfer for a program. And, it's, so generally those relationships are very long. Many of the clients we've been working with are a decade plus. So I think with that, I'll move on to the next slide. Any questions at that point? Yeah. So I talked about kind of the newness of Simtra as the name and as the brand, but what I guess I really wanted to point out here is kind of the timeline history of our site. So this was originally a Cook company, Cook Imaging, founded in 1983. You see in 2001, Baxter acquired that portion of Cook, which was Cook Imaging, and we have been operating as Baxter until, as I said, October 1 of last year. So the site has a long history. Kind of an interesting fact, and Mike and Jen lived through this. We had 55 people that went through the transition from Baxter to Simtra that went through the Cook Imaging to Baxter. So kind of tells you about the seniority of our site, the tenure at our site beyond, you'll hear here in a minute about our SLT, but there's a lot of folks that have been employed there for a long time. And then this just kind of steps through some of the various, I'll say previous expansions or milestones we've hit. As in 2021, that was our last, I think, abatement exercise we went through. We added a fairly significant warehouse just based on some of our growth. And now, the project we're talking about is adding manufacturing capabilities. So a little more exciting than adding a warehouse. Nothing against a warehouse, but it is a bit more exciting. So you want to advance to the next slide? So I've included, this is our local leadership team that sits here in Bloomington, essentially our senior leadership group. So you can see the different disciplines here: operations, engineering, quality, EH&S, tech services, HR, program management, et cetera. And I guess I would like to point out there's probably, Jen, what did we estimate? An average of 16 to 17 years of tenure on this SLT. Like for instance, Matt Cochran. So our operations group, as it's grown, we actually added a second director of ops. So Doug oversees all inspection, labeling, and secondary operations. Matt sees the filling of product operations. So that was a growth position. So Matt's been here of just about 2 years, but that was a growth addition. And the only one that hasn't been here over 12 years is George James. And that's just simply, we had turnover in that position. So folks that have been here, all but I think 2 of them live here in Monroe County. Folks that have been a long time with the company, albeit through the name change. So you want to move to the next one?
Bob deserves a better headshot.
So In Bob's defense, he's fulfilling that on an interim capacity. So he did what he could. We prefer to have at least a headshot, but Bob's been there, what, Mike, 30 years? Yeah, yeah, so 32. He's one of the original, yeah. His headshot's not that old. I thought he was.
Was
yeah.
he really?
Yeah, he's
That's
the
cool.
current employees. He's the most tenured.
wow.
That's what he meant by number one.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So there's
That's cool.
definitely a list, an unofficial list floating around. Yeah. If you want to advance to the next slide. And then this is, so our sponsors are the two private equity firms, which, you know, a lot of us, this was very new to us going into private equity ownership. I will say I was part of the management team that presented our business to the different firms that were interested in acquiring us. There were some that I was hopeful that did not buy us. These two fit culturally. They're very interested in the people side of things. It's of course not a cost cutting, it's a growth minded. So they've been great sponsors to work with. What they have said since day one, they have held true to and are following through. So they've been very great to work with, and they have assembled the team that's here on the slide. So for instance, my boss is Ray Guidotti. They announced Franco as our CEO. So Ray, Franco, and to the right there, Raul are kind of I'll say oversee the primary operations as head of quality, head of operations, and our CEO. And they all have 25 plus years in CDMO type manufacturing, which is, you know, there's pharma manufacturing and then there's CDMO manufacturing. And those are very, very different types of environments. And it's incredibly helpful that they know our type of business, appreciate the type of business we're in, that we have to stay ahead of the game to generate new business with innovation, you know, investment in new equipment, both from I'll say a reliability standpoint, but also from a compliance standpoint. You know, times have changed since we bought our last equipment, and there's significant improvements about the compliance side of it. And they have an appreciation for that and a much higher appetite to invest in our site. So the benefit of having folks, and those three have also worked together for many years, which is also nice. And then you see the round out of the rest of the executive leadership team. So in the bottom two in the middle, Bo and Benoit, those are legacy Baxter or BPS employees that have transitioned and now sit on our ELT. So that's a nice compliment as well, that, you know, Bo's a Bloomington guy. Well, now he lives in Columbus, but grew up here. And so, yeah, his wife's from Columbus. So you see he won that. So it's nice to have that continuity, some Baxter legacy or BPS legacy folks sitting on our ELT as well. So next slide, please. The next slide's might be a little confusing, but what this depicts, and we'll jump into more specific, is our entire operation. So we have a main campus there at 927 South Curry Pike, which will be the focus of today. But just to point out our entire operations, if you want to advance the slide, please. The two warehouses, T2 and T3, we're definitely not marketing people. We have letters and numbers for our naming of our buildings. Those are incoming and outgoing warehouses. So in our world, material flow has to remain independent. So those buildings are just north, also on Curry Pike. And then Doug, as I mentioned, oversees all our inspection, labeling, and packaging. And that occurs over there in Part 48, just to the left before the Global Cook headquarters. So that's just intended to give you perspective of the entire site and operations as it stands today. And then if we want to go to the next slide, so 2 more for the presentation. Back one. Spoiler alert.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's like syncing correctly. Do you need it on the new expansion slide?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's the building H.
Slide 8.
Okay, let me try resharing.
There it is. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so this is our main campus. So this is where all the I'll say compounding or formulation of solutions that ultimately get sterile filled into syringes or vials. That's all of those activities occur here. So I'll just kind of go around here. Bottom right, that's our R&D laboratories. Will now develop into more of a, in addition to R&D, kind of a clinical development services to take on some of that early phase clientele. Then we have buildings A, C, and D. So we have manufacturing in building C and D currently. And then all of our quality control labs are up in the top left in building B. And then, of course, the focus for today is the green space there, kind of on the middle left of the screen. Actually, now we're referring to as hopefully building H. So that is where we're looking to construct. And I think it's probably appropriate to move to the next slide now. A new manufacturing building consisting of 3 new manufacturing lines. And for some perspective, we have 5 current manufacturing lines. So this is a significant increase in capacity for us to take on at the site. So if you want to advance to the next slide, that would be good. Thank you. Okay, so this is not necessarily a picture of what we'd intend this to look like, but certainly a rendering in its location. We're looking at about a 75,000 square foot, 2-story, so a total of 140, 150,000 square foot build there. That's going to consist, as I said, of 3 new manufacturing lines. It will have warehouse space. We intend to put some new laboratories in there, as well as, of course, the office support, critical systems, all new utilities, et cetera. So this will be an independent, kind of not independent, but independently operating from a critical systems perspective building. I've got some of the statistics there that are in the documentation we've submitted. We're anticipating approximately 130 new FTEs to support these operations. Again, they're going to be kind of across all disciplines, operations, technical services, or sometimes referred to as MS&T, engineering, supply chain. Many of that makeup is our operations or even direct labor here. Total investment, it's broken down there, equipment 145 and improvements 80. So we're looking north of 200 million for the overall investment in the build itself. We've got the average salary there of 3450. That is, that's an average of all the positions we have included, which predominantly are our hourly staff to support these operations. The pictures on each side are examples, not necessarily the equipment we're buying, but will look very similar to the equipment that would be installed. As I said, again, 2 syringe lines and 1 vial line that has 3 30 square meter lyophilizers to support that. So again, capability to do both liquid and freeze-dried product. So it's really duplicating, extending our current core competency is what we're doing. I'll definitely pause there.
Just to be sure, 3450, this is, you plan on hiring these people full-time, not a bunch of 29-hour folks or anything like that?
Yes, correct. Yep. So I'll pause there. I got a couple slides on community engagement and 2 slides from our just last week published ESG report. So hot off the press as Centra. But obviously, this is the kind of the meat of the topic here today.
Over what time period do you anticipate the hirings to begin?
So there will be throughout, to build this, we're looking at 2.5 years.
The shell will be completed end of this year, maybe, or first quarter next year. And then the interior, probably another year or so. So in terms of a really ramp up program, late 2025, 26, to support this building.
Yeah, there will be some obviously brought on to as project type work. A fairly high number, but in terms of the operations, what Yuli referred to is probably a good estimate. Lead times on this type of equipment is quite long.
Anywhere from 14 to
18 months. Yeah.
18 months.
And question for Jeff, and I know you provided it to him, but just kind of help understand, and if anybody from the public is attending, what is the abatement total and what is the abatement per year cost?
Well,
Assuming we approve.
assuming you, well, so you're gonna step back,
Right.
right? This body is the investigatory body of the county council.
Right.
So this, whatever you do, then there's a draft recommendation
Yeah.
goes to the county council, who will likely hear it.
Yes.
So if we assume that you are going to approve, that this abatement gets approved over the 10-year period, and each year there's basically a 10% deduction in the abatement. So first year you get 100% of everything they put in abated. The second year you get 90% all the way down to when it expires. If you did that for the real property, and there's a
Yes, actually.
Pink tab. For real property, and this is consistent with what we typically see, is that the savings abatement is essentially equal to the increase in taxes they pay over that 10-year period. Now, year one, it's 0, and year 10, it's almost all of it, but they will save about $5,865,000. But they will be paying about $5,984,000 over that 10-year period for the real property, and that's based upon $80 million cost. For the personal property, it's a little different because you have depreciation built into the schedule. So their estimated savings is right at $4.5 million for the personal property, and they will be paying a little over $3 million in taxes over that 10-year period. And after the 10-year period, clearly the real property will continue as real property hopefully does, which is increased, and personal property will depend on the depreciation schedule and things like that.
And I calculate out the anticipated salary benefit to the community of roughly $10 million a year, which is, thank you. Appreciate it. So, all right, for the public's good, and assuming anybody's attending, I want to make sure that we are transparent about all of this. Didn't mean to interrupt your conversation or your presentation.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to pause there, obviously that being a portion.
Yeah. Any questions from, or any comments or thoughts from our friends at the Bloomington Economic Development?
We do have comments that we can offer during public comment as well. Actually, some of them piggyback on some of your next slides.
Okay.
So if you'd like.
Sure, we can advance one slide, please.
I have one clarifying question as well. So because you're owned by 2 private equity firms now, right?
Correct.
And the strategy of the private equity firms, I know you said in the statement that you're both, this is a new thing for a lot of us working with private equities, but have they given any indication of sort of their long-term? So I understand they're ramping up, right? But that's sort of consistent with trying to create more value to then sell or something like that. So do we have some sense of if they have an exit strategy? Are they here for the long term? What's the thing?
What's been verbalized to us and pretty consistently is that this is a mid to long-term strategy for them.
Yeah.
Now, the deal model consisted of a 5-year plan. They do not know exactly at 5 years, like, it's not like we turn into a pumpkin, but their deal model and kind of ROI is based on a 5-year model. And at that point, they want to create a company that's, valuable, of course, and has options, whether that would be to take it public, whether that would be to sell it. So,
and how do you see the current investment playing into that 5-year strategy for them?
well, I think, growth and expand. I mean, the good news is we have clients knocking down our doors for this volume.
Right.
And so by adding this capacity, that allows us to take that on, which increases the value of the company.
Right.
That's a big part of
And do
it.
you feel like are the estimates, would you say modest? Are they right on? Or are we?
Which
overshooting
estimates,
of
just to
how
clear?
many people we think we're gonna hire, how quickly we'll get things done? And our timelines, are we being conservative or?
So for the timelines, we're standing up a pretty aggressive build timeline. We have people that have a lot of experience with this, that they feel confident, but it is aggressive.
Yeah.
I think the estimates on FTEs and salary are conservative,
Okay.
very conservative.
Okay.
I mean, comparing to, we have similar operations right now. I think we're very conservative. We have prided ourselves on taking on responsible growth. We've seen growth that can backfire in our world. We want to be responsible with this.
Do you have any concerns around the ability to house those people in Monroe County? And whether that matters, do you think you'll be able to hire the 130 people to begin with at a salary of $70K?
I think we will. We've had, we're having a pretty significant build this year in FTEs, and we've not had similar disciplines, from indirect labor to direct labor and we've not had any challenges thus far. So, if I was going to tell you we were going to double in size, I think I would have more concerns.
Right.
But adding these types of numbers, I think the folks are out there. We've not seen any indication that they're not.
Thank you.
This would essentially be about 12% growth in your employee base or somewhere. That's fair.
Thank you so much.
I have just a related question. What's your current balance of employees who are residents of the county versus employees who commute in from outside?
I think they said 50. Yes, it was somewhere here.
Yeah.
53% or something like that, I believe.
53%, approximately 53% of the Simtra employees live in Monroe County. That's from page 4 of their application.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
And I would think that would be representative of the disciplines we're hiring. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything unique.
Right.
It's very similar functions.
Right. So half of your hires you expect to come from outside the county.
Roughly.
Yeah. Okay.
And by providing higher wages, we can also have multiple living in here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. And then also, Jeff, just a quick question on, because we have two sides to the estimates. So the first number that we gave, was that representative of the property or the personal property?
The first number that I spoke about the real property first, and then the personal property set.
Okay, so that number, that's the overall amount I should be adding these two numbers together,
Yes.
correct? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Just wanted to share with us, as Baxter, and we've continued on, and I think we'll even strengthen as Centra now, pretty active in the community. So these have been, over the last 5-6 years, we've had a pretty significant presence. This isn't all the ones we have partnerships with. But of course, with, 1,000 people, we have a lot of interest in a lot of different areas and do, I think, a pretty good job of supporting those, and being a pretty active participant in many of these. And I feel like they're probably growing as opposed to even plateauing right now. So we see new requests quite frequently. You know, we have a kind of a dedicated team that looks into these and kind of vets these and brings them to us as a leadership team to support, you know. And you know, it's something that a lot of people take a lot of pride in and are very passionate about in many cases. So some we're and I don't know if you wanted to chime in now or okay. And yeah, if you want to go ahead and advance, we just called out a few of the ones here that are kind of we're more into a monthly or annual cadence with some of these. Community kitchen, we have a monthly slot that we send, you know, we basically do a rotating by department. It's kind of a fun thing that the groups do. We are looking to really dive in with Ivy Tech, I'll say in a more significant level right now. We've met with them before the holidays and now since the holidays. And with some of the hiring that we're intending to do this year and what will hopefully, you know, continue with if we're able to proceed with this, we want to partner with Ivy Tech and they have some programs that will help us accelerate. This is not a short onboarding period for the type of manufacturing we do. And they have some bio apprenticeship programs and different things, different curriculums that we're pretty excited to partner with them to accelerate that onboarding time period for our folks. So
How long does it typically take for a new trainee to?
So, you know, it really depends by discipline, but if we talk about our direct labor pool, where Doug works in packaging, where product is already sealed, essentially protected, it can be a little bit shorter time, a couple months, 2 months. In the filling complex, we have 4 different disciplines. Preparation, where you're kind of preparing equipment to be sterilized. You have formulation or compounding, where you're actually mixing product solution in a tank. So you're touching product at that point. And then you have filling, which is happening at that's the most critical zone or activity in our world. That's when sterile product is exposed to a sterile container. And then you have capping, which is the outfeed, which you're doing counts and palletization. So for prep and formulation, you're looking at 4 to 6 months. For filling, you're looking at 6 to 9 months. For capping, 3 to 5 months. So, and that's to get you kind of comfortable as I would say at that point, you are a secondary person in an operation as opposed to the primary. It takes longer to get really proficient and good and do it in a reliable state, I'll say.
What proportion of your employees are Ivy Tech or IU grads?
I don't know offhand. The Ivy Tech partnership is kind of like we're just getting off the ground there, so that's very new. But I'm sure we have some. IU, it's really like we've just started to partner with the Kelly School Life Science Group, and we've got a couple from there. We got a couple interns applying right now. So, and then like I'm a Kelly grad. I mean, we've got a number of folks. Like usually when we have them on site, I mean, we have probably a dozen or 15 people supporting when they have either their faculty or students come. And it's, I don't know the percentages, you know, Jen, but there's a fairly significant.
You know, entry level professional roles like chemists, microbiologists, a lot of those entry level roles are people that will come from IU and then kind of plan down here in Monroe County program.
Cool.
One of the.
You don't hire from Purdue, do you?
As necessary.
Says the Michigan State guy.
I had an opinion.
Kelly MBA.
He redeemed himself, but he's a Michigan State guy.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that makes me feel.
You know, we do have one of the benefits now is being a smaller company. We have a talent acquisition team that is focused on us.
Gotcha.
And you know, Baxter was a great employer for a lot of us for many years,
Right.
but headquartered in Deerfield, that was where a lot of the community engagement and like we have TA support, but right now it's intense, the support we have. They're partnering, they want to have tier 1 schools, you know, IU, Rose-Hulman, DePaul, like to draw people here. And so they're really, and Purdue is one of those schools, you know, their curriculum matches up perfectly with what we do. So
for the record, it should be.
Yeah. And even Notre Dame's going to be a tier 2 school. I get a lot of people. I got nieces and nephews at Notre Dame. So anyway, these are some of the community engagement that, you know, we're pretty active in and pretty proud of. And then the last two slides are just some of, as I said, this was our ESG report. Obviously, we're very new as Simtra. We had initiatives, efforts as Baxter. This has been translated now to Simtra. And again, many of these things are in place. There's statistics that were gathered from our new leadership team and have been put into our report. And I think what you'll see is pretty significant plans with more concrete, what we intend to do by January of next year. So this is a critical element of our new leadership. You know, the fact that we've already got this put together and published now as of last week, I think is a testament to that. But it is in fact pretty new to our leadership team. And this is more a kind of compiling what existed between, this is both our site and Hollis. So as you step through this, there's some stats that are specific to Hollis, some are both, some are specific to Bloomington. And that really kind of concludes what, I mean, I think there's one last slide, just a statement from Franco, our CEO on ESG, but I think that really concludes the content.
Yeah, and so I'm just really happy to weigh in. And for the members of the public, my name is Jen Pearl, and I'm the president of the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation. We're a nonprofit. We serve all of Monroe County in helping our local employers to expand as well as to attract new ones. So our team has been really delighted to work with the Simtra team, formerly Baxter, over the last few years. And we're really excited that you're considering this investment in our community and are grateful for that. From our standpoint, this is a really incredible opportunity for Monroe County because we've been growing as an epicenter for innovation in Indiana. We've seen a lot of federal investments through things like the CHIPS and Science Act. We've seen everything from infrastructure funds to Indiana Ready and other things. So our region, as well as investments in the state, are growing. This opportunity here really dovetails with that. Because of Simtra's background in, world-class manufacturing production, and because they're proposing a new building estimated at $80 million. They're also proposing a $145 million investment for new cutting-edge equipment. When you put those things together, that's actually the second largest project that our team has worked on since 2020. So this is a very significant investment. If you look at all of the projects that we've facilitated since 2020, it totals to $680 million. And we're looking at 225 million or so there. So this is not small, and we're really grateful for your consideration of the investment in the community, as well as the EDC's consideration of this tax abatement. The other thing that we wanted to hit on was the plans to add around 130 jobs. At the average of, I think you had said it, north of $34 an hour, which is around $72,000 a year. That's very significant because our median household income for Monroe County is around $60,000. So knowing what cost of living is here and knowing that we're consistently trying to, raise the wages, statewide private sector average hourly wages are around $30 an hour. So this overshoots that as well. So overall, we're really excited to be working with you. We've seen even a shift in the recent year. You had mentioned so much more kind of intensive attention from the local team, which it feels very different from Baxter days. And seeing how engaged you've been in the community, we've been really proud to partner with you all on the tours and receptions with IU and with Ivy Tech. And we've been looking for additional ways to, get you out there more so you can grab that great talent and make sure the talent can graduate and stay here and continue to thrive in the community. So for all of those reasons, we're really thrilled to be able to support this project. We're proud to have worked alongside you and are very grateful to the county, especially with Jeff, you've been a wonderful support through this process and helping us move through it together. And we're grateful for your consideration as well.
Thank you for that.
Well, and I appreciate the detailed presentation. I appreciate all of you being here. And I appreciate what you're offering our community because Can't help people if we can't give them good jobs. And this is a wonderful opportunity for people. Any other comments or any, well, let me start with the room. Any other comments of those here in the room? Yes.
Hey, good afternoon, Commissioner. This is Chris Burnby, the Greater Illusion Chamber of Commerce. You see our logo up there. I appreciate Pat's presentation. I think I added a couple of things. I wrote a memo on it that touched on a lot of points that Jen Pro made from the BEDC, which I want to thank them, especially her and Clark, for their work on making this happen. But I think that community engagement, which you've sort of shown throughout the year, you're going to heighten back up. And I think the one thing that when you hear private equity ownership, it can be a little scary coming from the outsider. And I think what this presentation did was make this feel so community Monroe County oriented that I think we're very confident, just going back by the points Jen made, that this is really great for our community. It fits perfectly, and we're really thankful for it. So we support it.
Thank you.
Any other comments in the room? Are there any members of the public on the feed? Hearing none. I believe my esteemed counsel will tell me that it is time for a roll call vote.
Yes, and I guess a couple of things. I have sent out a draft recommendation to the county council, and it requires you to make a decision on whether you wish to approve the tax abatement, recommend approval of the tax abatement, or recommend denial of the tax abatement application. The other thing, and this is similar to the last one we did, but is kind of unusual in the grand scheme of things, is that this area, as they mentioned, had a tax abatement in 2021, and at that point in time, we did the economic revitalization area findings, which is the kind of the longer process in granting a tax abatement. So that's not necessary here. So I always think you guys like to know exactly what the process is. So the process would be if this gets recommended to the county council, it's on their agenda for tonight, and they will take your recommendation into consideration, but they could ultimately grant or deny that abatement.
All right, well then I will call for a vote, and I will, Fred Schultz, I would move to, I vote to approve the abatement application.
Seconded.
Okay.
Or is that the vote? I don't know.
We're good. I think now we vote. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Fred Schultz, yes.
Well, I'm gonna do a roll call vote.
I've been on this commission for how many years? I don't know.
Vote, Fred?
I don't know. I've been on this damn commission for I don't know how many years. I still don't know what I'm doing. And they made me in charge of it.
All right. So Fred Schultz,
Yes.
Greg Travis,
Yes.
Isaac Acer.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 3-0. You two can sign this.
Can I have a pen that's not real?
Yeah.
I think we should.
Every time we get that. Under my great leadership.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank
I hope
you
it
guys
goes
very
well
much.
tonight.
Appreciate
Sure
it.
will.
Absolutely.
And I would like to thank everybody for allowing us to do the room change at the
Yes,
last
yeah,
second.
no, good call.
Yeah,
We would
sorry,
not have been-
sorry for bringing an army with us.
No, no, it's wonderful.
There you go. That's right.
Thank you so much. guys.
Yes, thank you very
My
much. Very nice
pleasure.
meeting you.
Thanks,
guys.
Greg.
Really good to meet you too. Thank you for everything you're doing in the
So-
community.
Are you gonna formally adjourn the meeting?
I'm formally.
I was gonna leave anyways.